Oh, where we at? Alright guys, Panic here, otherwise known as Panic Picnic. And today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite co-op commanders. And as you can clearly tell, there's actually two of them. That is Han and Horner. These are actually one of my favorite co-op commanders. I think they've got a very unique and interesting play style. It definitely sets them apart from everybody else, and they're just really fun to play. They do have a lot of limitations, and in my opinion, I think they do need a rework. I'm going to at least try to do my best to try to convey, in my opinion, what makes them needing a rework, and I'll try to do my best to provide a few options of what I think should be done to fix them. Now, the first thing I really want to point out is Hans and Horner's basic abilities that they have, like basically their top bar. They have a mag mine, which you can drop in. It's basically you drop in a couple of mines and you can put it over a certain area if you have vision, and those mines will sit there, and if an enemy unit walks in, those mines will arm and they will travel in a straight line and get those units. I think this is a little bit, well, I understand where this came from in terms of the missions in the main StarCraft campaign. I think they should at least do a little bit of a rework to those mag mines, because they're very slow to arm. There's no real guarantee that they even do anything, even if you just splay out an entire, like just a one-way path. There's no guarantee that those mines will even be able to kill all the targets that you have, especially Protoss, in my opinion, with their shields and all of that. It almost feels like a little bit of a waste of an ability. One way I would definitely go about fixing that is to either increase the damage or just decrease the arm time. Well, Blizzards went ahead and beat me to the punch and put that into their mastery. And this is really one of the biggest problems with their mastery points is, let's go ahead and point those all down, is they put the mag mine charges as a cooldown and arming time, but it's only 1 point each time, and I don't really feel like any of the benefit from putting each point in. I think this is a little bit of a waste of a mastery point in general. It's because, like I said, it's not a lot. Like, you're only getting 1%. Like, if it was like a 2% something, and it was actually of a real noticeable decrease in time, then it would make more sense. But like 1% is just not a lot. If they want to keep it into the 1%, I would maybe just add an increase in damage to this as well. So so it would go mag mine charges, cooldown, and arming time, and increases damage as well. I think like a little bit of an increase in damage would still be fine for that, not make them overpowered, especially because mag mines do have a problem of not being very good on select missions. Some things that point out is the one with the train, and of course the one with all the zombies when they attack. Well, the multiple ones with the zombies. And the main reason why is, while yes, you can defend your base, it's only a very average based approach, especially if you compare it to other people who do have base defense. One that comes to mind is Dahaka, who can summon worms. Zeratul can now summon towers. Even freaking Swan can summon down like a whole bunch of like robotic units. And Raynor can, of course, summon his Banshee. So you're at least getting base defense from pretty much everybody you've got here, but the base defense from Hans and Horner feels very lackluster, and a lot of the times it feels very RNG dependent, and a lot of those times that RNG is not in your favor. And even if it does hit, it doesn't feel like it does. It's very impactful on some occasions. I think a little bit change to those numbers would be able to fix it. But that being said, let's go ahead and go up one, and that's into the air fleet travel distance. This is also one of the top bars. One of your abilities is you can summon. I'm actually going to read it off because it sounds a lot cooler when it gets read. It's called Call in the Fleet. You unlock the ability to call in a close planetary support from Horner's Armada, and the Armada does massive damage to random enemy units in the target area, and this has an upgrade in which the Call in the Fleet barrage enemy units with laser batteries and fires Yamato cannons that prefer high health targets. Now, if you've actually never seen this ability been called down, this ability is amazing. It's without a doubt one of the most cinematic abilities in the game, and you can at me, you can fight me, but you're wrong. I mean, This ability is amazing. It looks fantastic. But the only real downside is that ability has the length of a shoestring. I'm not even joking. Like, it's, when I first got it, I was like, oh my god, like, it's so cool. Like, I remember when I first triggered it. It's like, it's like literally like scratched into my mind. But it's like, I see this really cool cinematic. I see like all these. I see literally the Hyperion, and it goes like 2 feet, and then it's done. This is on like what, like a 240, like 4 minute, like a 400 second cool. It's on some really long cooldown, and I get like what, 2 inches? Like, that's just a disappointment in my opinion. Like, I mean, yeah, you can put in like all these points into Airfleet travel distance, but in my opinion, like, I'm putting points into something I should already have. Like, this is just disappointing in my opinion. Like, the distance is far too low. While yeah, the power is like okay, like I said, it's very random on what it can do. Sometimes it does a lot, sometimes it really does nothing. And like I said, it's really all depending on luck. But putting one of the mastery points into Airfleet travel distance, like, I should already have this like travel distance. I should already be at least kind of already decent at the start, because it already feels very low. And as you've already noticed, I'm sure you can read, there's no cooldown reductions on any ult in this. And that's unlike, let's just take Raynor for instance, who's got a decrease in ult for his Hyperion, his Banshee Airstrike. Let's take in to Nova. Well, yes, it's not much of a cooldown. She's got energy reduction. Oh, I apologize. That is a Nuke and Hollow decoy cooldown. That's a cooldown on an ult. That's a decrease in one of her abilities cost. Granted, it's a decrease in ult cooldown. And Hans and Horner really don't have that, and that's kind of a little bit of a disappointment because their abilities are very cool. Some, of course, are more impactful than others. Let's go ahead and move on to the next top bar ability. Like I said, I feel like this mastery point is like absolutely ridiculous. Let's go ahead and move on to her next top bar. Her next top bar is a Dominion... Oh, whoa, that is not that one. It is level 10, Space Station Relocation. Now, you unlock the ability to use a Space Station Relocation, and this Space Station deals 500 damage to heroic targets it contacts. Everything else is instantly destroyed, and assault drones will attack nearby targets. And don't worry, guys, if you like that, but wait, there's more! At level 14, it's called Have a Blast. Space Station Relocation will detonate a nuclear device upon its destruction. Now, this sounds awesome. Oh my god, like the text to it just sounds beautiful, and I know you're just thinking it in your mind how awesome this is. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, you're wrong. It's a letdown. And the biggest problem I have with this is I'm dropping, forgive my language, a fucking space station on somebody. I'm taking a giant thing, a giant fucking space station, and I'm saying, I'm pointing it at an enemy, and I'm like, you can go fuck yourself, and I'm dropping it on him, and I'm targeting on him. I do apologize for cussing, but that's what you basically are doing. You're saying, see that group over there? I don't like them at all. And it does do damage when its initial target, because it does, when it just hits and everything else is instantly destroyed. But the biggest problem with this is the AoE impact, in my opinion of this, is so low. It's so astronomically comical, in my opinion, of how bad it is. It's, when you drop it, it's almost like when you use it, there's like no impact, like, in my opinion. Like, even when one of Amon's groups comes and attacks, and I use a space station relocation on it, and I hit the dead center of it, right? The dead center of those targets. Why is it that it still either misses? And I have to wait a few seconds for this thing to explode to detonate a nuclear bomb. Well, don't get me wrong, it's pretty cool. It's just very uneventful with how big the original impact location of this space station is. While yes, it does summon assault drones, which can help finish off other nearby targets that it's missed, that is a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion. I think the impact radius should be at least a little bigger, because it's comically small. You're dropping a space station on somebody, not a pebble you found and stuck in your shoe. That's literally what it feels like. While yes, the damage is high, at least increase the radius of it by a little bit. I'm not asking a lot. I'm just saying a little bit. And again, I do apologize for cussing about that, but it's just disappointing. Like, I can summon a freaking fleet, and it goes 2 inches. I can summon a space station that's got the AoE of a rock in your shoe. Like, it's disappointing. And even when the nuke goes off, it's like, yes, it is a nuke, and I can understand that they don't want to make it too overpowered, but it still feels like it's not doing a good enough job, especially when it's on some of those longer cooldowns as it is. And again, it's no guarantee that you'll even kill what you're going to drop it on. Because like I said, sometimes it just walks out of the radius of the nuke. I mean, granted, I know the assault drones are supposed to gather aggro, but that's a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion. Now let's go ahead and roll up into power set 2. Now we've got double salvage chance and significant other bonus. Well, a double salvage chance grants a chance of double salvage drops for friendly commanders. And the significant other bonus, let's go ahead and at least talk about that. And level 15, you get the significant others, and your units gain bonus based on your army's composition. Horner's units gain 0.5 health for each supply of Mirror's units, and Mirror's units gain 0.5 attack speed for each of Horner's units. And it's like it's really more of a passive boost, but that's pretty much what it's gonna do. And again, we've of course got the other one, which is a double salvage chance, and it gives the chance to drop double salvage values for friendly commanders. And I've got one that increases the passive. Now, this is kind of weird in my opinion, because I mean, like, I understand, and I think the significant other bonus can stay. However, I think the double salvage chance should go. In my opinion, I understand why this is here, but the biggest problem with it is, like, if I put all my points into that, that's 54%, okay? That's 54%. And I get teamed up with a commander, for instance, like Tychus, Zeratul, Nova, or like even Carex could even work, because sometimes he just does buildings. Basically, I've wasted points in my mastery on something that will not get used. That is because my friendly commanders will not get a double salvage drop values from those very low number of armies. This is more of an impact if you get someone who, of course, has a Rainer that decides to go for a bio-based build. And not a mech build, they've got to go for a bio-based build. That's where you're really going to get the most impact from it, because they've got a 54% chance to drop salvage. Well, yes, they could go other builds, and of course they could benefit. They're not going to be benefiting a lot, especially Tychus. Like, Tychus has got 4 people. If Tychus is losing his units enough that a double salvage chance should even come into play, then that is not, you're not going to win that mission. It's just that simple. And it feels like it's a very big of a letdown sometimes when I get paired into those matches. I think if you are going to do a double salvage chance, I think you should double the values for yourself as well as your ally. In other words, not only do you give your ally a chance to drop double salvage, I think that it should also increase your chance to drop double salvage. I mean, it's just a minor fix, but even if it already does that, even if, I'm not even joking, if that already does that right now, then I want to know. Like, you guys can tell me that, but the text on this is very misleading in my opinion, because it says it grants a chance to double salvage drop values for friendly commanders. It doesn't seem like it affects you at all, and only your allied commander. And like I said, it's a little bit of a disappointment when I put points into that, and my allied commander can't really get any value out of it. And like I said, it feels like a wasted a point. And speaking of, again, a waste of point, I have to choose between that and my significant other bonus. Now, if you don't know, a significant other bonus, like I said, I've already told you, is going to increase the attack speed of Han's units, and Han's units will further increase the health of Horner's units. Now, Hans's units have... This is one of the biggest problems with Hans's units, and speaking of, it'll also tie into Horner's units as well. The increase in attack speed is very, it's pretty good. I'll admit, it's pretty, it's not very noticeable in my opinion, even with all those points. I'm just saying, personally, I didn't really notice it. like, it wasn't very, like, I mean, I'm putting in 27 points, and I'm not really seeing it. Like, I'm not very noticing it. Like, as I would in other values. Like, if I make a speed increase for, let's say, just, I put in all my points into speed increase, for warped in units. Like, I really see that when my units respawn and I can see them running around. Like, I see that. But for, like, the attack speed, like, Horner's units already, Hans's units already kind of attack kind of slow. And it only, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure about this, only affects the Reaper and the Hellbat. And it only affects their actual attack speed, not their spell-based. And hear me out on this, and this is really what makes, this is actually what gets it into a bigger problem. Because Hans and Horner, like, Hans's units, you've only got a Reaper, you've got a Widowmine, you've got a Hellbat. And the Hellbat does very, very low damage. It's got very low health, as you know, because it is a Reaper. Even when fully upgraded, in my opinion, because like I said, it's just a Reaper. But it's meant... you're getting a lot more value when it gets those spells to trigger, because it throws in a grenade that does damage, and its grenade is auto cast, especially against buildings, and that's what it does. Like, Widowmines, I don't even need to explain a Widowmine's attack speed. I mean, it is a spell. I haven't noticed, again, I haven't noticed if my Widowmine attacks faster or its spell comes off online. If it does, again, you guys are more than welcome to point it out, but I haven't noticed it, and I don't think it affects it. Like, Hellbats, they already attack pretty slow, and even when you have maximum amount of freaking battle cruisers, Vikings, and Wraiths, you still don't really notice, like, the faster attack speed at all. And also, it's only really benefits against lighter units, and of course, they set units on fire, which is really cool. But again, that's what its passive ability is, so it's not getting any of those benefits. And Horner's units are very expensive, and of course, it's just going to increase their health, and it doesn't increase their health regeneration. It only just increases their basic health values, not their health regeneration %. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Horner's units get an ability where they regenerate health while out of combat. Well, they only regenerate 3 HP per second. Now, that's pretty good. Like, it's pretty good, especially if you spent all that money into these. If you aren't sure by how much money, let me go ahead and fill you in. A battlecruiser costs 1,000 minerals and like 600 or 800 gas. A Viking costs like 800 minerals and like 400 gas. And again, that takes up 10 supply. That takes up 8 supply. That's the same value as the Viking. That's 100 minerals and 200 gas. They're very, very, very expensive, and even with the increased in health, it doesn't affect those health regeneration values while out of combat. So a maximum of 3 HP, and when you can get a battlecruiser up to like 1,200 plus HP, 3 HP is like a drop in the bucket. I mean, we're Terran. We can repair that, but by having this passive, I shouldn't have to. Like, it seems a little dumb in my opinion. Like, if they want to fix that, just change this off a percentage value of the maximum HP that a unit has. That would make it at least a little bit better. Make it like a 1%, like something small like that, or even lower. You can do a 0.5 if you want. But I mean, that would at least make it at least a little bit better. But even when you have all this HP, like, these units, like, almost don't feel very impactful in my opinion. Yes, the battlecruiser is very good, and the Viking and the Wraith, but they don't feel, they just don't feel fun to use, to be honest. They feel very boring. I mean, this is really opinionated in my opinion, and you can keep them the way they are. I mean, like, there's always, I mean, I'm always going to want to summon a battlecruiser, don't get me wrong, because it's a battlecruiser. And especially when it gets that upgrade to use those Yamato guns, but I'm only getting 1 battlecruiser. I'm not getting like 2 battlecruisers. I'm getting 1 battlecruiser for a lot of money, a lot of gas, and a lot of supply. I'm only getting 2 Vikings, I'm only getting like 2 Wraiths, and again, this is not including the amount of upgrades I have to pump into these to really get the most out of them. And that's, like I said, that's a lot of resources to really sink into only getting like 2 units, not any of those upgrades already included. So it's a very heavy investment to go into Horner's units, with the exception of the Raven. The Raven's really, really fun. It's a little boring in my opinion, because because its ability is called Analyze Weakness, and it is a passive ability. While yes, it does have an upgrade to increase that Analyze Weakness to 4 targets, and if you aren't sure what Analyze Weakness does, it just increases the ability of the amount of damage you guys are going to do to a set target. And when you have a couple of those out, like you can do, like I believe it's like 15% more damage to other targets, and that's pretty good. It helps out a lot, and it's got a very low cost. Like I said, 100 minerals and 200 gas, so it's not too bad. I've got no problem with the Raven. The only exception is put in, like, maybe give it like an active ability. I think it would be more fun. Like, if you don't want to put in like Seeker missiles, put in the anti-armor missiles or like something like that. Just give me an active ability I can actually use on like the Raven. I think that would be pretty fun. I think it would just like add a little bit more, and you're still getting that like Magmine, and you're still getting that very like mercenary type of playstyle. You're getting the Wraith and the Vikings. Like I said, they're okay. Like I said, you just need to spend a lot of money in it. So like if you're gonna go the Horner style, like you just need to go for the upgrades, even though they're like, they just don't feel very rewarding to use because they're just so expensive, and I'm only getting like 1 or 2 units for my little bit of an investment. It's not like Tychus where I can just feel like I can just death ball and I've got all these abilities and spam, which makes it more fun. I get a battle cruiser with a passive ability that I get a battle cruiser and have the ability to either warp it to anywhere on the map, or I can just change its fire mode. For the Viking, I can transform it, and I mean, I can warp his units anywhere on the map for any of Horner's units, but I get the ability to transform it. Its ability to shoot air units is already on auto cast, so not inactive. For the Wraith, I would say I get the ability to cloak it early game, but it has an upgrade that makes Wraiths permanently cloaked. So again, no active abilities here, so it's a little bit boring in my opinion, especially when you already list these guys as being for experienced players. I mean, it's a little bit disappointing. Also, 2 vastly different playstyles. That's definitely being shown here, and that complement each other perfectly. This is a lie. Oh my god. This is before we start talking again back into the masteries, this is another really huge problem with Hans and Horner's units. They don't really complement each other at all. While yes, like her units here, like aren't very good at air units, and these guys are. That's really the only way they're complementing each other. There's almost really no way to go from Hans and transition into a Horner style unit. And I know some of you guys are already typing out in those comments, but let me go ahead and talk to you about this. Hans units are Reapers, Widowmines, Hellbats / Hellions, and that's it. With the exception, of course, of the Assault Galleon. And this is really where the biggest problem lies in the Hans and Horner playstyle. And the unit, and the biggest thing I would allocate to a fix is these Assault Galleons themselves. Hans units, as you can see again, we've got Reapers, Widowmines, and Hellbats and Hellions, are not the epitome of health. In other words, they're not the epitome of being able to stay in a fight very long. They are very expendable based units, and they're not very survivable. With the exception, of course, you can place the Widowmine down and fire and forget. These units are also designed to die. As you can tell from their low HP. And what I mean by, I'm not just saying like they're designed to die. They are designed like that. I get more benefit from having a Reaper dead than having it alive. And the reason why is a Reaper does a very low amount of damage. I think it starts off at 6, so it can get upgraded to, let's just say, a value of 9. But it throws out a detonator charge as its spell ability. That's already again a passive ability. And it can target the buildings. Well, yes, I can, of course, auto, like, control, like, what is it, shift click, or control, right click, and turn it off. I mean, it's good to keep those abilities on. But when a Reaper dies, when you've got the upgrade, a Reaper has a chance that when it dies, it'll throw grenades at the person who killed it, and those grenades will go off. And the grenades do a decent amount of damage, but it just knocks them back, does a little bit of damage, and it's pretty cool to watch. So you get a lot of value from a Reaper like dying because it affects the grenades it does throw out. It throws out quite a few, so it can do a lot of damage, and especially in an AoE. So one of my favorite strategies and one I really enjoy is just getting like a whole bunch of Reapers, get about 20 Reapers or so, and they also have the ability for Reapers to fly, which is really cool. And you press F, which is the default ability, and you just run the Reapers into the enemy units. Now, it sounds like a bad idea, but it's pretty fun. Just hear me out. The enemy units will then subsequently start shooting your Reapers down out of the air, while your Reapers are attacking the enemy unit. Because again, you're trying to get as much damage out as possible anyways. And once the Reaper dies, like once you're 20, let's say 20 Reapers dies, they throw out a whole bunch of grenades and they just do like a decent amount of damage. But it's pretty cool to watch. It's pretty fun. I think it's a really fun play style. But again, now you're out of Reapers. With the Widow Mines are really cool. They're already permanently cloaked, I believe. I don't know. I just get all the upgrades for them because the Widow Mines are just fun. I enjoy them. Like I said, Hans and Horner is just fun to play. You don't even need to know what they do. Just play them. They're fun. I know I've been ranting on them, but they're freaking hilariously fun. They're one of the most fun I've had playing as a co-op commander. And when a Widow Mine dies, it has a chance, because again, all of these are chances, that when it dies, it shoots out like 5 or 6 rockets into random directions. And you already know how much a Widow Mine does damage, and it's already shooting out into 5 or 6. It's freaking hilarious. It goes off like the 4th of July. You get like a whole, especially late game, like when you're just doing like one last assault, if there's like one last dude that you gotta kill, just unburrow all your Widow Mines. Just walk them at the enemy units, and you'll know what I'm talking about, and just watch it. It's the most entertaining thing you'll see in a minute. All these units are the enemy units are shooting them, and Widow Mines, of course, can't attack when they're up and moving around. But when those Widow Mines die, like it's like the 1812 overture over there. It's hilarious. It's entertaining. And it's one of my favorite moments in StarCraft. I'm not even lying. It's just fun to watch. And the last one, of course, we've got Hellbats. And when they die, their death effect is, again, they've got a chance. They set the ground on fire, and that fire has a chance to fear the enemy units for a set amount of time. And if you've got all those again, we've got all the upgrades. That fire will stay and do extra damage for like 25 seconds or whatever. Not entirely as cool to watch as the Reaper Widow Mines. Like I said, I think running Reapers and Widow Mines in the enemy units are just fun. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it's just fun. However, there is a downside to this, and this is why I'm saying this is really where the counterintuitive part is these units have death effects, and they're gonna die, and like I said, you want them to die. Like even one of their passives is the Horners. When friendly units are killed, they drop resources for the commander of those units, and Matt Horner starts with the starport, so we can train elite StarCraft. So again, when one of Horner's, like I've already explained, when a unit dies, for instance, a Reaper, it's 50 minerals, and when it dies, you get like 17 minerals back. So again, you get a lot of benefit for your units dying, and this is supposed to be able to, I believe, transfer you into the Horner playstyle with all the minerals and gas that you would have already recollected, and that's okay, but it sucks because like if it's like early game and all that, and you still don't have that money to be able to go into like those 2 wraiths, you don't got the upgrades that you're already going to drop a lot on for these wraiths, these Vikings, and these battle cruisers, and you lose like a unit just either to to one of Amon's groups, or especially if you're doing mutations, where everything's a lot more valuable. I mean, barring mismanagement and your units are designed to die even late game, you really have no real way to produce your units back. And this is the biggest problem overall about Hans and Horner. And again, this all stems back to the Assault Galleon. The Assault Galleon is, it's basically the barracks. It's basically a flying barracks that can attack. It's basically a Terran carrier, when fully upgraded, and can produce units. Now, the only downside to this is these Assault Galleons, 1, are made of paper, and 2, you're only allowed to have a maximum of 5. That's right, you can only have 5 barracks to produce Reapers, Widow Mines, and Hellbats. That's basically like saying you can only have 5 hatcheries. I mean, actually, no, actually, that's probably more of an overstatement. You can only have 5, you can basically only have 5 barracks in a regular game, in a regular StarCraft game. You can only have 5 barracks, no reactors, no tech. Actually, you can have a tech lab because you're going to get those upgrades, but that's it. You can only produce 5 Reapers at a time from that. And granted, that's only 17 seconds, but you know, that is so painful to either lose an army, whether it be to go and attack an objective. If you go and attack an objective, like even if it's late game, you have to go and attack an objective, and you're probably going to lose your units. Like, that's probably a given, especially if it's like your first initial attempt at either attacking the high ground or one last freaking void sliver or whatever the heck Amon's got and digging out of the ground. And you're going to lose that unit. You're going to lose those bunch of units, and you have no real way of replacing them. A Reaper takes 17 seconds to reproduce. 17 seconds to produce. That's the lowest one, I believe. 17 seconds. And you can only produce 5 of them at a time. That's not a lot. You're not getting a lot out of it with just Reapers, Widowmines, Hellbats, and Hellions. That's not a lot. It's not very good. And while yes, I can understand the reason why they put those they did put those numbers on it, because these Assault Galleons can attack. Have you seen an Assault Galleon attack? Like, it's horrible. Like, especially early game. Where is it? Oh my god. It's not Cradle of Death. It is... Oh my... Yeah, it's Chain of Ascension. Play Chain of Ascension on Brutal, okay? Play Chain of Ascension on Brutal with Hans and Horner, and let the ally, and let Amon get Marines. And let your ally not have anything, okay? Because your ally's either going to be doing something weird, because you can't control everybody, and... Like, let's say they just don't help you just at all, okay? Just for like an initial, like they're 30 seconds late on their builder, and they know what they're doing, okay? Let's say you've got 30 seconds to do things on your own. Assault Galleons cannot survive on their own at all. Like, 3 Marines, I'm not even joking, can take out an Assault Galleon. 3 or 4 Marines by themselves can take out an Assault Galleon. That's not a joke. Like, that is sad. These units are classified as armored units, and in my opinion, they either need more, either to buff up that armor for the early game to help out other people. I mean, I'm fine with it, because it's like I said, I'll do my best to compensate, but they need to at least do something for these Assault Galleons, either to make it 5 or 7, because these things are very expensive. They take they are 200 minerals and take 60 seconds to make, and that is a lot. That is a lot, especially again if you're going up against the Zerg, who are going to use Vipers and or even Scourge, and are going to attack that unit. If you lose that, you basically lose all forms of production, and with only 5 of them, it's very, very easy to lose. Each one of those you have is very precious. Just take it as this: if you have 5 of them, that is 100% production. If you lose one, that's down to 80. That's a B. If you lose one more, now you're at 3, that is a 60. That is a freaking F. You go from a B to an F by losing 2. And again, these things are made of wet tissue paper and shoot spitballs. I forgot to mention, they shoot freaking spitballs. The Assault Galleon does have an original attack. Like I said, I did refer to them as Terran Couriers, but that's a lie until you get that upgrade. They basically run around shooting about, like, what is it, 6 to 8 damage. It's very, very, very minuscule, and it shoots about oh, what is it? Basically about this. It's slower than a siege tank in siege mode, in my opinion. So you're basically shooting spitballs very, very slowly. And you can see it. It's not very impactful when you have those, because you're just not doing a whole lot. And like I said, even when you do, you have those mag mines to be able to help compensate for that additional damage. But you have to kite those things into those mag mines to be able to trigger. And again, those mag mines travel very, very slowly. They are a very long cooldown, and you just have to hope they hit. And again, like I said, it sucks because again, your units are designed to die, and you can only have 5 of these. Like, put it up to 7 at least. I mean, geez. Like, I don't know, like they're trying to make it not as overpowered, especially when you upgrade it with assault drones. But the assault drones are, I mean, yeah, you're getting like 5 carriers that you're going to carry around with your army, but not only are these things not detectors, I mean, granted, you can summon a raven from anywhere on the map, so it doesn't count, but not only are these things not detectors, and like you get the assault drones, these things will then cost supply. It costs like 3 or 6 supply. It's very supply heavy, and not only is it supply heavy for your unit producing building, it's so damn expensive. It's 200 minerals and 200 gas, and that's not an upgrade that affects your whole assault galleons. That's a 200 mineral, 200 gas for each. So even if that is 3, even if it's, let's just say 3 supply. Let's say that, I'm pretty sure it's about 3 supply. That's 3 supply, and you're gonna have 5 of these because you need 5. So that's 15 supply just by itself, okay? And not only is it 15 supply, that's 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. And we've already had this discussion on Horner's units. Horner's units cost a lot of minerals and a lot of gas. And what do you need to have a lot of minerals and a lot of gas? You need a good economy. Reapers don't give you the salvage of gas, at least as far as I've seen. Widow mines do, but widow mines are burrowed and very spread out because like they do cost gas, but you're not going to be losing widow mines in mass. So it's a little bit counterproductive, in my opinion, that you need all these minerals and all this gas for these assault galleons. Now, the last thing, like I said, if I would have fixed that, I would at least bring it up to 7, in my opinion, and increase their their base armor value by 1. I think that would at least help them at least not be as bad. But again, you guys are Blizzard, you guys work with the values. But again, like I said, I would increase it up to 7. I mean, I would at least be able to have at least more production, and it would at least, like I said, it would still be fun. It wouldn't be as bad. I mean, you can keep the spitball values and all those numbers the same, but just give me 7. Or like even like one or two more would just be fine. So I can just produce more Reapers, Widow Mines, Hellbats, or Hellions, or whatever. And the last thing I want to talk about, I mean, the next to last thing I want to talk about is the final thing on the top bar. And this again is what brings things almost full circle. The last thing on the top bar is the ability to call down a strike fighter platform. And this is not free. This is not a free ability. You do not start off with it. It does not start off on cooldown. You have to build the ability to use it. It is very similar to Tychus's medevac drops. But you have to build these strike fighter platforms. And you can only have a maximum of 10. And that gives you the ability to use a one of your top bar. And I think that's a little bit stupid. I think they should already give you these like either on cooldown. Like they should replace this with mag mines and put like mag mines on its own little thing. Like I can just summon an area with mag mines like how Hammond from Overwatch does it. But that's neither here nor there. Then we just need to change it. But if they want to keep it, fine, they say. But this is what really sets it back, is because just by build, because you need to build these strike fighter platforms, and they are, I believe it's 100 minerals and 100 gas each. And again, we've already talked about how gas, well, yes, you don't really spend it on these Reapers, Widow Mines, and Hellbats, so you do end up getting it. Gas is very slow to get, and it definitely delays your transition into either Horner's units or into some of your upgrades that you may need. And I think, well, yes, it does give the player some ability to make decisions on where they want to go, whether saying, hey, do I want this battlecruiser or strike fighter platform? I think it's a little bit weird to put it on the top bar from that manner. I mean, even if they want to keep it, that's fine. It's just like I can understand their decision behind that by giving the player some options on what they want to do. And again, these strike fighters, not only do they cost minerals and gas, they also cost supply. So again, everything costs supply from here. Like, you're paying for everything you've got. Like you're paying, if you want something, this is basically, you gotta pay to play. Like Hans and Horner, you think Nova is bad by using, like, having to use her top bar ability. Her ability is at least like lowered by having the nuke and hollow, like by at least having lowering the Griffin airstrike cost. But like Hans and Horner, you've gotta pay for your top bar. Like, you've gotta put in some supply. Like, you've gotta lock out everything. So it prevents you from going and getting those more battlecruisers or those more Vikings or more Wraiths that you want. Because like I said, their units, well, yes, they don't have those active abilities. Like, you can't get those because you don't either have the minerals or gas to be able to buy them, because you're already spending them on other things, whether it be your assault galleons or your strike fighter platforms or whatever. And this leads me into the last points, and that's into his power set 1. His power set 1 is like almost everything here is absolutely terrible. And the reason why I say it's terrible is because I'm given a choice between stronger death chance and strike fighter area of effect. First off, just hold shift and then just click all these points into stronger death chance. The main reason why is because every point that you're going to put in this, as you can see, is going to increase that by 2. And I've already mentioned the death chances. Not only is it very fun to watch, it's also very impactful and helps you out a lot. And the strike fighter area of effect is very disappointing. The area of effect is already quite small, and even when you put in all of these points, you're only increasing it by 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, count with me. This is Sesame Street. Like, it's very, very low on the increase you get. I mean, I can understand for balance reasons why they did this, but it's still very, very low and a little disappointing in my opinion, because it's not very noticeable. And not only is it not noticeable when I put in all those points, it doesn't feel as it doesn't feel as impactful as the stronger death chance, which I'm gonna have active most of the time, with the exception of those strike fighter cooldowns and areas of effects for decisions. And this is what I feel like the biggest downside. This pretty much sums up everything about Hans and Horner that I would really say, is that especially with his mastery, it's the decisions you make in putting in your mastery points. It's not really like, hey, I want to play this playstyle, or hey, I really want to do this. It feels like, hey, I have a choice between something that's very disappointing because I'm only getting an increase by 1%, and it's not very noticeable in my opinion. It doesn't do a lot of damage, and it's very luck and RNG based. I mean, if they would just like increase those values to 2 instead of 1%, I think it would be better. And also, by putting points into this air fleet travel distance, like I said, it already feels like I'm putting points into something I should already have. It's a little disappointing with how already low it is. Like, if you don't want to, just put it into a cooldown reduction, and I'll be happy with that. That, or just make for power set 2, just change the double salvage chance to also impact you, or help give you gas or something. Like I said, I may not be 100% accurate on like some of these like interpretations, I'll be honest, but like it sucks sometimes. Like, I mean, I personally go for the double salvage chance on the off chance that it benefits my ally. But that being said, like, Hans and Horner are really fun. I do think, however, they do need a rework. It's like, even though I've ran it for quite some time, it's not a lot of work that needs to be done. Like I said, just either for this Magmine charges and cooldown and arming time, either make this, instead of 1%, make it a 2%, or like just add the damage, like add an increase in damage to it, or just do something else like that makes the Magmines more of like a viable top bar option other than just what's already given. Because it, like I said, even when you put in like, when I put in all 27 of my points, like the arm time is still it's not noticeable. Like, it's still not noticeable. Like, it's like basically it sums it up to this: if something is 10 minutes long, and I put in 30, and I have a cooldown reduction of 30%, it's still 7 minutes. It's still a long time. And these, I have to wait for them to also recharge as well. So, like I said, just change those values, and maybe put something else on that. Change the value for that. Put air fleet. Turn that, like, give me the air fleet distance. Make that into another upgrade from that, or just tag it on to the advanced weaponry. I mean, he can afford Yamato guns and firing at things, but he can't afford the gas to go down the street. That's pretty much all it is. Like, And give me that. Just put in that already in there. Put that into a reduction into like either the space station or the air fleet itself, or put this in as an upgrade for like mag mines. Like just put it in as like a different thing that can affect as mag mines, and that'd be pretty cool with that as well. Or if we don't want to do that, change it into something that lowers the production time further from Horner's unit for Hans's units. So, I mean, while yes, they've already done it by reducing the time of 30 seconds, 17 seconds is still very long. They can put a low value here, like maybe like 0.5 each time you put it in. So it's not too overpowered. So maybe we can get like a 40% or like a 50% reduction. Oh, what did I say it was? It was a 40%. Yeah, 30%. Make it into like a 40% reduction, or like maybe like a 45% reduction when it's fully maxed out. I think that would definitely compensate for a lot of the issues, and you would not have to change the assault galleons if you don't want to. That would definitely offset it by just that simple change. Or you could again just change it out for the strike fighter area of effect. Another thing they could do, like I said, like they definitely need to just change the strike fighter area of effect. Either already give me a kind of normalized value, like somewhere like a little bit of an increase of what's already there, if they are determined that it is still too short, or just change it to something else. Like I said, I don't notice it when I put in all my points, so I don't think a lot of people do anyways. And like I said, it's just like maybe my opinion, but like I said, it's really of a disappointment by having that. Or even if they just turn it into like a cooldown reduction of the strike fighter, because the strike fighter does have a 60-second cooldown between fires. And while yes, that does lead into balance problems, that is nothing I mean, you've given a medevac pickup cooldown reduction of 40.5 seconds. And you're telling me that that's not OP, then I'm pretty sure you can be fine with Hans and Horner on that. Other than that, like I said, I know this has been going on for quite some time, but these guys are my favorite co-op commanders. They are one of my favorite co-op commanders, and I think that they are definitely in need of a rework, because the last thing I want them to do is get that divorce, because these guys need to complement each other perfectly. Other than that, like I said, my name is Panic Picnic. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And boys, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.